just to understand the cosmology. So as far as I understand it, there is basically Sophia, or like within the Gnostic tradition, was called Sophia Gaia, essentially like the earth energy itself of creation, right? That creates. And then essentially we're all still connected to that in the natural world, you know, living beings. We have the heart that is the first thing that evolves when we're born. That means that without the heart, you can't exist, right? Without your brain, you can exist. Without your heart, you can't exist. So we're connected to the living earth. And then there's a living reality, and then there's an artificial construct that seems to have come along. And then the Gnostics called it the archonic force, right? Like the demiurge, basically creating an artificial imitation of reality, feeding upon the energy of life itself, right? This is where the blood.
Yes, and have you heard of the term of louche?
I have heard that. Yeah, I think it comes from.
Yes, I mean, basically the suffering and dissatisfaction of the human soul is what feeds the archonic devil spirits. And so they want to create a society and a world that produces as much terror and suffering as possible. And because that energy is what feeds the fallen angels.
Precisely. So the fallen, I mean, because again, these are different theological traditions, but ultimately speaking to the same truth. The fallen angels would be essentially what people consider like Lucifer and the fallen. That would be the demiurge in the archonic overlords in the Gnostic tradition. Is that the way?
Yeah, I mean, David Icke, the Arabs call them jinn. When I was at the Church of the Marquis of Hell would be conjured, and he was a light being with snakes for hair and about 6'2". Now I was not an adept, and I could not communicate with that being, but we talked openly as children that it was a multi-dimensional world, and that these jinn or archons were not from our dimension. This is an invasion. And now also the Gnostics talk about in the Nag Hammadi text about this being a cheap copy of the real world. And I was bounced out in a satanic ritual, and I saw 2.5 equilateral, 300-foot tall, roughly, blue pyramids. And supposedly those UN light blue glowing pyramids with a dark sky, no vegetation on that planet, is actually where we are. Because if you look at the reality of the morphogenic field, it is a 52 waveform field with almost infinite density and almost infinite energy. So as Neil Bohr said, what we consider matter is not made of anything, not made of matter. It's all energy. So this is a construct, and we're deaf, dumb, and blind. I mean, we only see 0.005% of what's out there. So I keep telling people, you want to fix this situation, don't point fingers, point inward. And it's people like Dr. Bruce Lipton, Dr. Joe Dispenza. How to Break the Habit of Being Yourself and You Are the Placebo. Those are books that can change your life. You have to know that information. Emotional freedom technique done in front of a mirror, long form. You just follow your own consciousness, and it will tell you what to tap on. And you can heal your subconscious from the archontic programming. If more people did this, we'd be in a totally different state.
100%. So I just to go back to that idea, which is really interesting. And I resonate with this idea that we are basically dreaming this reality, right? We are essentially not, because as you said, we are not this body. We know this, we are energy. And we know our soul is not born with the body. It's like, anyone that has any intuitive understanding, remembers some sense of past life or as an instinctive understanding of this. So what you're saying is that essentially we are on a different world. This is almost a holographic replica or simulation, right, that we are engaging with. And there's basically been a dark side that is trying to essentially hijack what should be a simulation where we should be able to express and connect, because there is a living earth still that, you know, that we can feel and connect to. That, so there should be within this reality some ability for us to be more free, to be more empowered, self-empowered. And yet, for the most part, this thousands of years has been hijacked by this cult, essentially, that has been using mind control, trauma-based mind control, especially.
Well, what is mind control? It's, as David Icke says, it's perception control. And if you tell people nonsense and lies over and over again, they'll believe it and it'll become their belief system. I mean, basically, with all the censorship in America right now, you can really see how afraid the satanic elite are of people talking amongst themselves. Millions of people worldwide woke up to higher consciousness and true political reality when the web was wide open. I mean, I would say 5 years ago, they really started shutting the web down and taking as much truth off the web as they possibly could. But I like to think that the toothpaste is out of the tube. And you've got people like Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza, Kevin Trudeau. I mean, a lot of people think he's a huckster, but all his lectures, like Your Wish is Your Command, are now available for free on YouTube. And if you listen to those, you will learn about critical thinking and about self-empowerment that you don't get in school. All you get in school is obey. Don't think for yourself, obey. You want to get ahead, Sean? Obey.
Yes, we get that. We get that now. We're, you know, it's like, to me, it's the end of the Piscean age, which is a school for fish, right? And they're basically trying to roll out this New World Order agenda rapidly to basically to keep people from the realization that we're in the Aquarian age, where none of that obedience hierarchy stuff works in the Aquarian age, because this is where we step into our sovereignty and our power. So